Welcome everybody to yet another Spread event. We are on number 23. For any newcomers, Spread stands for Supporting Peer Respect, Education, and Discourse. We are a community of learning. We come together to expand our perspectives and to stay curious about the world. We aim to build a community that enjoys each other's company and also supports each other throughout life. Today, we are honored to have Randi, I hope I pronounced that correctly, who comes to us by way of Crystal. Randi is Crystal's friend and coworker at the Public Utilities Commission here in the city. Before she began her public service career, however, Randi worked in the real estate industry as a sales licensed agent. Randi is not currently in the industry. She is not selling us her services or any product, but is volunteering her time to teach us about a very important part of life. And for that, we are truly grateful for her time. A stable living situation is obviously incredibly important, and home ownership is also a very big aspect of personal finance. In the interest of our members' financial situations, I should say that while home ownership is a responsibility and paying rent seems relatively simple in the short run, your rent pays for someone else's mortgage and it builds someone else's wealth. So today, take this opportunity to consider what questions or obstacles are in the way of your own journey. And with that, welcome again. And without further ado, I want to welcome Randi, who is going to be talking about preparing to buy that first home.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to topic number 23, preparing to buy that first home. I want to first off say that I do not hold a current real estate license, so I can't give any real estate advice during this presentation. What I'm hoping to do today is share my experiences from my time working in a real estate company and how that helped me with my personal home buying process later down the line. I hope by sharing my experiences, it will help you get into that state of mind and making that first purchase and hopefully ease any stress or anxiety that you guys may have regarding the process. There we go. Okay, so before we jump in a little bit about me, I studied business administration with an emphasis in marketing. And while I was in school, I landed a temporary and then later part-time position in the San Francisco real estate office, just starting doing clerical receptionist work. But I was more intrigued with the marketing work they were doing there. So after I graduated from school, I scored a full-time marketing position there. And that was when I was exposed to the operational and the marketing side of the real estate company. I provided marketing and admin support to an office of over 50 agents, mostly residential and a handful of commercial agents. And then about 3 years after providing admin and marketing support, I became a licensed real estate agent at that office. I joined a sales team with 4 other licensed agents, and the team averaged about 50 real estate transactions a year. And this was during this time, this was when I was exposed to the sales side of the industry. Then about 2 years into the sales work, my partner at the time and I purchased our first home in Alameda County. 4 years after that, we sold that home and purchased another one in Napa County. 10 years later, sold that home and purchased another, also in Napa County. So that's my quick little background in the area. And now I think we want to break out into the breakout rooms, separate into the breakout rooms. And here's the slide. So we want to have smaller discussion about your experience and feeling in purchasing your first home. The question listed here on the slide are meant to be a guide and offered as suggestion for the discussion. So feel free to talk about anything related to home buying that comes to mind, even though they're not addressing these questions. So I think William will.
Yeah, I'm going to create 4 breakout rooms. So you'll have 3 to 4 people in one room each. Okay. All right.
See you later.
So I hope everyone had a really good discussion in the breakout room. So next, I put together a few slides to touch on the high level of the topic. And after going over the slides I put together, I can take any questions you may have, or if you like to speak more in certain areas, we can kind of hone in on certain areas at that time. So we'll jump right in to the three major professionals involved in the process. From my experience, there are three major aspects when it comes to the home buying process, and I've broken it down here by the main people involved. We have the agent, the lender, the escrow officer. So for the agent, just in general, it's a licensed representative who negotiates the sales terms and price. They protect your interest, and they have access to like a database of homes that's available on the market. For the mortgage lender, a lender is typically a financial institution that loans out money so that you can finance a home. That's a general good broad term. And then for escrow / title officer, from my experience, because both of these people are typically are found under one company, which is called the title company, which is responsible for conducting and closing the transaction. I've grouped them together here. The escrow officer facilitates the transfer of money and title, while the title officer researches the history and ensures title to the property. So because of my background, I can touch more on the agent part of the transaction, more than the other part, or more than the other two, but I'll still go over a high level about the lender and the escrow as well. So I'll start with the agent portion. So you have, just in general, that you have real estate person versus real estate brokers. So a real estate person has a license that is licensed by the California Department of Real Estate as a real estate salesperson. And the difference between the salesperson and the broker is that the broker have more real estate experience and education and would have taken, a special broker exam in order to, carry this license. A typical real estate office is usually head by a broker, a real estate broker who manages real estate salespeople. So you can kind of see them as a manager that overlook, his sales staff. But in all, the main difference is that a broker would generally have more experience with like real estate law. They know how to train the salesperson. And feel free to, like, if I need to clarify, if something's not clear, if you would like me to clarify something as I'm going along, feel free to jump in too. So there's realtor designation. You'll see additional designations such as realtor. There's also San Francisco Association Realtors. There's National Association Realtors. And in order to have such designation, the agent has kind of committed to a special set of code of ethics adopted by the association. So you may see the term real estate person, real estate agent, real estate salesperson, a realtor. So a salesperson can be a realtor, a broker can be a realtor. A realtor is just an additional designation on top of your license. If you have some general information, some actually good basic home buying information on the California Department of Real Estate website. They also have some things that's really interesting on their website is that you can actually look up an agent license. You can see how long they have their license for, if their license expired. It'll also show like any disciplinary action, of course, in just a general term, like if there's any disciplinary action taken on this license, on this agent. So I find that I don't know, if you feel like you need more information, usually if you work with a realtor, with a salesperson, you should feel comfortable asking for the background, asking for, their credentials. But if you don't feel comfortable, the website has some pretty good information as well. And then the cost to work with a buyer agent is typically paid by the seller of the house being sold. So there's generally no cost for a buyer to work with a buyer's agent. And the buyer's agent is the agent representing the buyer of, the buyer who's trying to buy the house. So typically, unless there's special arrangement made, you as a buyer, and you have an agent representing you, you typically don't need to pay the agent because it's already being paid by the seller of the house you're buying from. And then the duties, so typical duties of a buyer's agent. So the real estate agent owes fiduciary duties to their client. The agent have to act in the best interest of their client and not the best interest of themselves or a third party. It's their job to disclose any known facts of the property and the transaction to their client. So in addition to helping you find the right home, they will help, they will work with the agent on the other side to get all the required disclosures and inspections. They will write up the offer, negotiate the deal, and navigate the closing of the transaction, which include meeting and removal of contingencies. And contingencies, we were just talking about it in the break room, like what is the contingency? Contingency is it's kind of like a term, like, it could be in the contract that says, after you review the title documents, you must sign off to remove this contingency in 3 days, or else there's a breach of contract. It's kind of like, instruction that, you have to do something on your behalf or else, the contract will fall apart. It's not going to go through. Okay, so next I have the lender slide. So with lenders, it helps to understand there are mortgage lenders and then there are mortgage brokers. The lenders are the one who make the loans directly to you. And then mortgage brokers work with the network of lender to find a lender for you. And from my experience, I've come across many, for loan types, I've come across many types of loans. There are some that are geared towards to first-time home buyers. You'll hear them being referred to as FHA loans. FHA stands for Federal Housing Administration. There's one geared towards certain service members and veterans called the VA loan. That stands for veteran loan. There's a loan to help moderate to low income borrowers to buy in rural areas. And those are called USDA loans. And that stands for US Department of Agriculture. And then you'll also hear conventional and jumbo loans. Conventional loans typically loan up to a certain amount, let's just say 600, that amount changes too. So it's best to kind of work with an agent to find out what that number is, but let's just say is 600. And then jumbo loan just means higher than that amount, and that's maybe like 900,000. So for the down payment, I think there was, I know when I was growing up, I had I thought that I would need, like, without 20% down payment, there's no way I'm going to buy a house. And with all the different types of loans out there now, especially with some of the government loans that I've mentioned, you really don't need 20% down payment. So certain loan allows for 3%, 3.5%. I've personally put down 10%. And yes, industry norm is 20%. But just to put it out there that down payments are possible. If it's, don't think like, oh, if you don't have 20%, there's no way for you to get it. And yeah, that is something that's the loan, the down payment is part of the loan product, which is the specialty of a lender. So definitely connect with the lender and get to know what type of loans they can offer you. You can tell them what you're looking for and they can search, for some loan products that will help your financial situation. Okay, so the cost to get a loan depends on the lender you're working with. So feel free to ask for an estimate of lender cost from your lender. They will. It's a norm. It's not like uncommon for people to ask for an estimate. So feel free to do that with your lender. Some common cost structure you'll hear related to getting a loan are like mortgage points. These are the costs that you can pay down. You can pay to buy down your interest of the loan. Another way your lender could work with you and lender fees to incorporate it into the loan instead of paying for the fee out of pocket. So when you see interest rate and your annual percentage rate, like to be two different numbers, that typically means the costs were incorporated into the loan. So yeah, these are just some typical scenarios I've encountered. But I highly suggest, again, when you're ready to purchase, work with the lender so that they can find the loan that could work for your specific financial situation. And there are so many, again, there's so many types. There's so many banks, there's so many individuals, so many brokers, so many lenders out there. It's good to shop around just to make sure you're getting the best rate out there. Escrow and title officer, again, I've grouped these two together because in my experience, they've been housed under the same roof. So once you've entered into a contract to buy, the escrow officer, usually someone unbiased, will manage and facilitate the transfer of the money and the title related to the property. They're the third party that will hold on to the down payment or the funds of the loan and the funds of the loans. They'll also receive instructions from agents based on, the real estate contract, which you guys agreed on how to act with certain things. So the contract may say in whatever days after signing real estate contract, buyer need to deposit down payment into the escrow account. So the escrow officer will work with the buyer's agent, and the buyer agent will work with you as the buyer to get this down payment into escrow. So that's just one example. And then they would also true up property tax as well if the seller of the home already paid for like a full year of property, but you're moving in the middle of the year. So they'll work that math to, make sure they get reimbursed for the other half of the year and you pay, things like that. And then the title officer will research the title of the property to make sure there are no errors in public records or illegal transfer of ownership, and ultimately ensure that you have legitimate title to the property. You can also ask for an estimate title cost. So the company will give you, just like with the lender, the title company will give you a list of costs involved, so you have a good idea. And depending on your lender, the title cost could be incorporated into your loan as well, alleviating any out-of-pocket cost. So definitely talk to your lender as well if that's something you're interested in. The title company also would submit paperwork to the county to record the new ownership of the property. So I'm going to go just a quick, brief, high-level buying process. So a typical buying process usually starts with an agent showing homes that fits what you're looking for. Once you find a home you want, the agent put an offer together. The agent negotiates the deal and helps you get into contract. After getting into contract, the agent ensures the contract terms are met, the contingencies are removed, while at the same time, the lender will finalize the approval of the loan and ultimately fund the transaction. And all the while, the transaction is managed by the escrow account, and the title officer will do the research on the property. And when all the contingency removed and the loan is funded into the escrow, title officer will transfer the funds to the other party and record the new ownership of the property. And it's actually very complex. There's a lot of, each party has certain roles they need to do. And a lot of times, sometimes one person needs to do one thing first before the next person can do something. But a lot of times, a lot of things are happening at the same time altogether. So that's just the kind of the tech side of the buying process. But even before you're ready to get into this buying process, in my opinion, there's some things buyers can do to make this part of the process smoother. So before working with an agent, you may want to work with a lender to get a pre-approval letter. And agents typically see buyer with a pre-approval letter as someone who's more serious in buying versus someone who's just looking around. And getting a pre-approval letter, you'll also have a better sense for yourself, the price range you're able to finance. So you can, when you're looking for your house, you're able to narrow down a certain price range for yourself. And then before that, you may want to familiarize yourself with the area you're interested in purchasing. I think someone mentioned earlier, they've gone on to Zillow. So that's a great way to just, like understand, the area that you're interested in and see, the kind of prices. And for that price, am I getting the number of bedrooms I want, the number of bathroom I want, the square footage I want, the condition of the home I want? Because you may see like, typically in that market, in the area you're looking at, it might be like, typically $1 million. And then you're like, oh my gosh, this is a deal. It's only 500,000. And, but, like, is it in a condition that you want? Is it a fixer upper? Is it a TLC, just referred to like tender loving care, where like, it needs just, not as hardcore as a remodel, but like, just maybe a fresh coat of paint and some just gentle fix up. So before that, actually, I have managing finances. It's never too early to get your finances together, because that is what's going to make or break the buying process. So when I say managing finances, I mean like figure out how you're going to come up with a down payment. Lenders will want to see a reserve that you have built up. They may be asking, they may be looking into your finances to see what your debt to income ratio is. They will look into your credit score. So this part takes time, and you don't want to wait till you're down at the orange area to like, oh no, I gotta find my down payment, I gotta fix my credit score, because you really don't have time, because the buying process, bidding in the offer and accepting offer, it happens so fast. You really want to come into the buying, the orange part of the process, ready to go. So if you have a great credit score, it's easier to qualify loans. You get lower interest rates typically. So I'm just speaking in general. Again, talk to a lender specifically about it. But from my experience, typically, if you have great credit score, yeah, it's so easy. You don't have to, but because if you don't have good credit score, your interest rate might be higher, and then that's going to cause, a higher mortgage payment every month. And then you're like, oh, but if only I got this better credit interest rate, I can afford it. And so you don't want to when it comes down, when you're ready to bid, you want to have all your ducks in a row by then. And that is all I have. I just wanted to make a high level and open it up now to any specific areas you want me to touch on or anything I can clarify. So I'll open it to the floor, or I think I see some chats.
Yeah, we have quite a few questions in chat, so I compiled them all into a document.
I'll stop sharing.
Right here. So these are all the questions that were asked in chat, along with a few others. So what do you look for when deciding on an agent or broker to work with?
So I'm not sure if I should take this personally, like what I look for, or I'm assuming it's in general for people.
Yeah,
like what
in
do-
general.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm targeting this presentation for first-time home buyers. So I would look for an agent who is whose specialty is in whose specialty is a buyer represented agent. There are agent out there who specializes in selling of the home, listing. There's the listing agent who sells the home, who are representing the sellers. So I would definitely look for an agent whose specialty is representing a buyer. I feel like, especially as a first-time buyer, I feel like agent who specializes, who works with buyers, they understand where, buyers' mindset, where they're coming from. So if you have questions, they're able to answer you, the way, from your point of view better, I feel like.
Right. Any other questions related to that from the floor?
Yeah, you mentioned on the California website that you can see like people's complaints or disciplinary actions against agents.
Yeah.
Yeah, what are some juicy ones? Tell us some stories.
I will let you guys find it on your own through the website.
How do people like lodge complaints against these agents?
I think there's a process because it's part of the
I'll file a
state
complaint.
California. Yeah. There's a complaint process. There you go. Yeah.
And I'm just curious, like what would happen that would, things have to go pretty sideways for you to lodge a complaint.
You can actually, like, if you scroll up, I think you can like pull up any licensed agent, and then it will kind of tell you like, oh, this is when they
We got to sort by most complaints.
okay, there, maybe the disciplinary actions link will have like the most current. View the list of person and entities. There you go.
Wow.
Oh, snap.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Totally did not know.
Yeah.
Like what are some examples of just, people would be prompted to file a complaint? Or things to look out for?
I guess it depends on the client if they feel uncomfortable with anything. Like anytime you feel like wronged for some reason, if you just act on your tuition, if something just doesn't feel right, like definitely like look into it. And then if it's a legitimate like issue, even if it's not, like file a comment, like, and see what kind of response you get. I know there is like, if you feel like because you're okay, so for a buyer's agent, when you're working with the agent, when you're looking at houses, when you initially look at houses, when you hook up with, sorry, I keep repeating myself. When you hook up with an agent to find the house, you're actually not, there is no contract between you and that agent at that time. So don't feel like you have to work with that specific agent that says, hey, yeah, check out my website, you can do the search. You and your buyer's agent don't have like a contract with each other until you signed the contract, like the contract for a house. When you put in a contract and then you make a bid, and then there's a agency relationship there. But while you're just looking casually, like, don't feel like you're locked into anything. So I guess once you're in contract and you're working with your agent and you feel like your agent is like not representing you the way you want to be read, like if you told him something to do something and he totally if you told your agents, I want to bid $500,000, I want $500 on the on the contract and he wrote, no, you know, I'm going to put 600 instead. Like that's clearly, then, you know, then you would definitely file.
Hmm.
Would there be any incentive for him to put 600 instead in that example, or is it just like willful not following your directions, or is there like, are there any situations where they might be incentivized to go against your wishes?
There should never be any reasons, any incentive for the agent to go against your wishes because the agent's representing you. And that's what they signed up for when they got the, you know, when they got their license. That is like the one thing they must do. And if they're a realtor, they're making an additional commitment to, you know, make sure they represent their client's best interest. But everyone has their own, you know, way of doing things. Every, you know, different agents have different way of doing things. So maybe I would suggest like looking into some, maybe with a like word of mouth, you know, like talk to someone who's worked with an agent before, get their sense of, oh, you know, how is it working with this agent? Do you feel comfortable? Do you feel like everything went legit? Like, you know, just, I think word of mouth is always good to kind of get reference, who to work with type of thing. If you're
Okay,
unsure
so
where to start.
then some one small thing that was asked during the presentation was, will the seller's agent or the seller themselves, will they pay for the cost of the buyer's agent, or how exactly does that work?
Yeah, so during the breakout room, I think commission was brought up. And yes, so when the seller is selling their home, they may hire an agent. Typically, they hire an agent and say, help me sell my house. I will pay you, industry standard back then was 6%. And so this is just a typical from my experience. It all depends on what you negotiate, what the seller negotiate with their agent. Because I've seen different scenario, but this is the scenario that I was encountered with most often back then. The seller would be like, oh, okay, actually the agent would be like, well, it's industry standard 6% commission from the sales price. And typically 3% of that 6% goes to the buyer's agent and 3% stays with the seller's agent. So it comes out of the sales from the whatever the seller gets.
Oh, okay.
Help?
The final sale of the home.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Take from that pot. Okay.
Yeah.
So then you mentioned contingency. So like when somebody enters into a contract with a buyer or buyer's agent, there are contingencies. What are some common contingencies that might be written into a contract that come up quite often?
So first, from my experience back then, the real estate contract is actually a standard contract. So it's really a form that you fill out. There's a lot of disclosures on it. There are some contingency that are set up on it. And one of them would be like, okay, in 30 days, you must remove the loan contingency. And if you don't remove the loan contingency, there's a chance that the transaction will not move forward. Because it's a term of the contract, because if you don't remove it, then the seller can say, I'm moving on to the next one. You know, we're ending this contract and we're moving on to the next one. So that's one contingency. Does that help with understanding what a contingency is? So another would be like, I think there's one for reviewing title documents. The title company will issue you a document that they've researched about the property. You review it, and if everything looks good to you, you sign off and then move forward. If you don't agree to what you see, you can not sign off, and then that transaction stops there.
Right. I believe Anna asked this question in the chat. Anna, did you have any specifics about contingencies you were curious about or anything like that?
Oh no, I just tend to confuse contingencies with disclosures, so I think this helps.
Okay, yeah, disclosures, you'll see, oh gosh, in San Francisco, my experience in San Francisco just have tons of disclosures, and disclosures are really just things to kind of bring to, like, they like to just, just let you know, like bring to your attention. Nothing that you really have to act on. And I guess contingency, the difference between contingency is something you need to act on.
Okay.
Got it.
So disclosure is
you.
something you need to be aware of. Contingency is something you need to act on. Okay. Are there any loans that specifically assist urban home buyers? I know that there's the rural home buying by the USDA, but is there anything that assists urban home buyers? As I believe most of us in this presentation will be curious about.
Yeah, so not that I know of, but again, the loan side is not my specialty. It's not my my area. I would definitely hook up with a lender and find out if because it changes too. The loan types changes from company to companies. Sometimes they may have something that tailored, maybe not for urban home buyers, but maybe more for like your financial situation. So
Okay.
don't feel like, oh yeah, I asked for urban home buyer loans and he said no. And then don't feel like, oh, that's it. There's no other way for you. Kind of work with your lender to see, this is my financial situation. Are there any loan products out there that can help assist me based on what, my financial situation to help me buy?
Right. So you need to seek them out. They're not they're not ingrained in like the system. Like FHA loans are pretty commonplace, but okay. So you need to find something more specific. All right. Do loan estimates require hard credit checks?
I think that question depends on the lender. I've had soft credit checks, but it depends on the lender. Definitely check with the lender.
Who's responsible for communicating with the lender / escrow? I believe you might have already answered this, but just for the sake of clarity.
Yeah. So, I mean, as a buyer, you definitely, want to know, be on top of, your loan. So I feel like as a buyer, you should have a great relationship with your lender. But at the same time, the buyer agent will, so you may work with your lender to get a pre-approval letter, and then the buyer, your agent, the buyer agent may reach out to the lender and say, hey, like I got this kind of check up on that pre-approval letter, like how solid is it? How solid is your financial situation? Things like that to get a better understanding. And during the transaction, your agent typically is like the project manager of the transaction. So he typically is like, hey, lender, we need you to do this. Hey, escrow, do that.
Okay, so they're doing all the heavy lifting on your behalf. They're doing all the heavy lifting.
Yes.
Okay. And I believe you mentioned also that like the lender is the person who grants the pre-approval.
Yes.
Correct? Okay. So they take a look at all your finances. They take a look at all everything that's in your bank account and everything, or all the information that you provided. And if you check off all the boxes, then they grant you pre-approval. Is that generally, or is it more complicated than that?
So generally, when you're getting a pre-approval, it's just a general look. Nothing like, usually it depends on the lender as well. Usually there's no like, show me your documents, show me this, show me that. It's usually more of a general idea. And then once you're in contract, that's when they're like, oh, I need to see this statement. I need to see that.
Oh, okay. I thought it was more invasive.
It can be, and I think there was a time where people skipped the pre-approval and just went straight to the approval. That because it was also a strategy, a bidding strategy with the buyer and the agent, because it could be everyone's like just like maybe sellers just don't want to wait 30 days and they just want to sell in 14 days. So if your loan part is already taken care of beforehand, then it may be more, the seller may see your offer more attractive, and that's
Right.
definitely a strategy to work with your agent on.
Okay, good to know. What are the pros and cons of an FHA loan?
So that I will need to direct you to a lender for that, because they have specific rules and regulations on the loan, and the rules are always changing. And it also depends on the buyer too. Like a good for me may not be a good for you too. So definitely check in with a lender for that one.
Okay. I think this one is a little bit more specific question from Jackie. Right? Am I right about that? Can you sell your house which you are still mortgaging? If you're moving and you have a house that you own, but you're mortgaging that, you're still paying the mortgage on that house. Are you able to sell that house?
So I am understanding this question as like for me right now, I have a house, but I'm paying mortgage on the house. Can I sell my current house and move to New Zealand? Is
Right.
that the right way to approach it? Okay. So yes, you don't need to completely pay off your house in order to sell it. That's correct. During the financial process, and the escrow officer will take care of this. Like whatever profit you make out of, they'll take out, what you owe from the bank first, like pay the bank first, and then if there are any money left over, like they'll pay the bank, they'll pay, the realtor, they'll pay maybe the appraiser, they pay whoever pays out first, that needs to be paid first in escrow, and then whatever's left over, if there's any profit, they will give it to you as a seller of the house. Does that help?
Okay, cool. And then finally, unless there are more questions, but what are the differences between mortgage lenders versus mortgage brokers?
So lenders are typically someone or an organization that loans out directly to you. The brokers is more, they have a network of lenders. So they're working with different kind of lenders who have access to, who offers different loan types. So the lender may just have, maybe just 5 loan types. But the broker will have a net, like 10 lenders, and maybe each of those lenders have 5 loan types. So a broker would just have more people and could offer you much more different types of loan types. Does that help?
So they're generally like bigger operations.
Yeah, because they know more lenders. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So would it be generally in your interest to go with these larger companies or networks as opposed to small time lenders?
So it depends, and I encourage to do a lot of shopping around, because you may be working with the broker, and then the broker say, hey, this is from my network of lenders, I think this is the best for you. But then you may reach out to a lender who is not within his network of lenders and find a better loan type for you. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions? Anyone, feel free to pipe up, or just you don't have to put it in the chat anymore.
I have an additional question on, so when you're dealing with your agent, is it good to like ask them for a checklist so that we know that they're on top of what they're supposed to be doing? Or something else? Because you mentioned that the agent is like a project manager.
Yeah. So there, I've worked with many types of agents. Some agents are really good at sharing with you. This is the plan. This is, step 1, step 2. So, you're not like, left wondering, what do I do? And I think that's why I kind of lean towards working with buyer agents more, just because they worked with a lot of buyers and they understand the buyer's mindset. And there are some agents who will just go and say, yeah, today we're going to take you to show you houses. So it really depends on the agent. But I think depending on the agents you choose, because you talked about like, should you have a checklist, like kind of to monitor the agent's work, right? So if the agent doesn't do everything he needs to do to close the escrow, you don't get the house, no one gets the commission. So it's his job to really, make sure everything is checked off. But I guess you can, if you have an agent who doesn't lay it all out up front for you, you can ask them. Some good agents I've worked with will have like a general outline of, things to do. But I mean, it's such a complex transaction, like with a lot of moving parts. Like even with the general outline, like the timeline will change, things like that. But I guess it's a relationship with the kind of relationship you have with your agent then.
I mean, I would assume that it shouldn't be your responsibility to keep track of your agent being on top of their own work, right? I don't think that should be the case. It's kind of like from this whole presentation, I've gathered like the agent is kind of like your lawyer. They're like your home buying lawyer, they're like representing you in the court of buying a house. So it's not up to you.
Your manager.
Yeah, or something like that. And it's like they have certain responsibilities there are certain norms regarding like the work that they need to do. And if they're not doing that work, then they're probably going to be out of a job sooner rather than later. So more and more people will catch on to the fact that they're not a very hardworking agent, right? Generally. So yeah. Are there people that
Yes, thanks, Randy.
are there people that are kind of like their own agent?
I think I believe there's a conflict of interest when you're representing, like you're an agent and you're selling your own home. I've seen a lot of agents hand it off to other agents to deal with. But
so then on the flip side, as a buyer, do you need to go through a buying agent, or can you just go directly to the seller? Is that
you can go directly to the seller agent. Just know that there could be a conflict of interest, and that agent might ask you to sign a disclosure saying that you understand the agent is representing both sides. Just as long as you understand that there's that that chance, it's actually it's not like a illegal thing. Yeah.
Okay.
Randy, what are your general thoughts on I mean, I guess they call themselves tech companies, but they're using tech to come into the market. Like Redfin has agents, right? And they proclaim to save you a few percentage points on the commissions presumably because they use technology to make the process easier or what have you. What are your general thoughts on that? And is that the future of the market, or is that are they just trying to grab some market share right now?
So that is something that I've been seeing now, not so much when I was in the real estate field. I don't know. I'm seeing a lot of this company that offers like a lower percentage on commission as well. Like, because that's how you save the seller money. You instead of 6%, they may say 3%. And I don't know, like, I feel like unless you have a good grasp of how the real estate market works, it's like, I guess, like in any profession, like, like if you're not good at accounting, if you're not good at doing your taxes, like, do you want to do it yourself, or would you like a professional to do it for you? If you do it yourself, like, what are the chances of messing up, and what kind of liability are you faced with? So I guess it's kind of similar in the real estate market. If you like, yeah. So I think like those companies that charge less commission, they put a lot more work on you and less on them, and that's how they justify, the lower commission rate. So I mean, those are something that you personally have to kind of weigh out, and what works for you, what doesn't work for you. Yeah.
Just curious, side question. Is that also how that company Compass works? I've been seeing a lot more ads for like Compass. Have you heard of this company Compass? What's their deal? What's going on?
I don't know. I haven't
Illuminati.
looked into Compass, but I believe Compass bought out another real estate company, and I think that was the real estate company that I used to work for.
Oh, okay. So yeah, it strikes me. I think they're just like a new real estate company that is more consolidated and has better brand awareness or marketing. It seems like in general, and they have their own agents subsumed within them, but it's not like, I don't think they're presenting anything new is the impression I get, but maybe I'm wrong and like they have special sauce, but I don't know. Very curious about that.
I don't know. So as of now, I don't know anything about Compass like specifically, but I know I've heard of like bigger companies who like maybe like Compass, or like just any bigger companies that have like a lot of agents working with them. I know a lot of like in the real estate area, a lot of them want to let the agent themselves shine,
Right.
like as like almost like a mini company within
Like, yeah,
a bigger company. Yeah, so
right.
I'm wondering if Compass may be
Like very
something like that.
personality forward.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably.
They went IPO in March of this year.
Compass did?
Yeah,
Oh, snap. Are they blowing up?
I don't know. Mark Benioff
This is the
an
first time
investor.
I've heard of it.
But yeah,
So you're paying a mortgage for like whatever, like a long time, 15 years to 30 years. Does that relationship with whoever's managing the escrow, is that only for the the initial buying process, or is that a relationship that lasts the length of the mortgage?
Just the buying process part.
Okay.
Once the funds get transferred to the other side and the title is recorded, their job is pretty much done. Yeah. I mean, unless, there's some title issue later down the line because they've insured your title. Yeah, with the mortgaging part, that's a relationship between you and the lender.
Okay.
And And I don't know if this is useful, but sometimes the mortgage, the company that you have your mortgage with may sell your mortgage to another lender. So you may see, like, you may be writing your check to one lender one day, and then the next month you're like a different lender. So that's not uncommon as well.
Is there some upper limit to the amount of people listed on a title?
I don't think so. I know my family has a lot of people on title, like my
Right.
uncles and aunties. But I can't tell you exactly if there's like a 20 name or anything, but that's a title company. With a title officer will be able to kind of give you a straightforward answer to that one.
Hmm. Anyone out in the room have any questions?
And if there are any questions afterwards, I don't know, like I feel free to reach out to me, Carmen. I don't know if like it would be via email. Info with.
Awesome. Thank you, Randy.
Cool. Okay, let's then if there's no other questions, we'll start wrapping it up. Just gonna quickly share upcoming events that that we're hosting. So if you guys are free, take a look at this upcoming events. Yeah, I'm not going to read all of them, but just some social events, recall election discussion next week. You guys should already have received your ballots. Writing workshop, 25th September. Thinking that's more going to be a picnic type of deal, and book discussion, and maybe a watch party because Shang-Chi is coming out. So that's what's coming up on the calendar. I'm gonna go. And also just putting it out again, if you know anybody or yourself would like to speak about something, anything at all, let us know. And with that being said, I want to thank Randy again very much for taking the time out and sharing her experience with us. With that being said, we're gonna officially end our event, but feel free to hang out and chill out. Thank you.